One of the best ways I know of to shortcut your learning curve when it comes to developing a new skill or accomplishing a big goal is to talk to people who have already walked the walk and the people who have already done the things you're looking to tackle right now. This is why informational interviews can be so powerful for your career, since you're not only building your professional network during these conversations, but you're also getting an inside look into the experiences of people who have gone down a path before you and people who can offer recommendations if you are looking to follow that same path. But even though these conversations can be so impactful, most people who are successful in this business also tend to have a pretty packed schedule. And if you can get an accomplished industry veteran to say yes to a phone call or an in-person meeting, it's also pretty likely that this phone call or meeting is going to be pretty quick. So to make sure you're being as efficient as possible during an informational interview, and to also make sure you're taking full advantage of these opportunities when they do come your way, in this video, I want to cover 4 of my biggest pieces of advice to run a successful informational interview conversation and the things that are going to be most important to say and do when navigating this process. So when you're looking for career guidance and talking with someone who has already experienced career success, one of the worst questions you can ask is, what advice do you have for someone just starting out in the industry? And the reason why this question doesn't work is because the person you're talking to most likely doesn't know who you are as an individual or where you want to end up, and with that, their answer to this question isn't necessarily going to be applicable to what you want out of your own career and where you should head next. So when you're running an informational interview, the first step during this process to make sure this person's advice is going to be relevant to your specific situation is to make sure to provide a sufficient amount of context around your education, work experience, and overall career aspirations that the person you're talking with can then use to base their advice on. Starting the conversation with a quick background around what you've already accomplished professionally, your long-term goals for the future, and the career decisions you're trying to work through right now can give the person you're talking with a helpful framework for the conversation and can make sure their answers to your questions are relevant to the path that you want to pursue. Career advice for someone who's a sophomore in college with a goal to start their own company in the next 5 years is going to be different than career advice for a career switcher in their mid-20s looking to land an acquisitions role at a real estate private equity firm. And being clear up front about who you are, where you've been, and where you're looking to go long term is key in making sure the answers you're going to be given are going to be applicable to your unique scenario. Now, giving context doesn't mean taking up the first 10 minutes of the conversation, telling someone your entire life story, and even though you want to make it clear where you've been and where you're looking to go, you also want to be concise, clear, and to the point to save most of your limited time in the conversation to learn about the other person. But just by setting the stage and sharing the career paths you're considering, the internship or full-time work experience you have, and your long-term goals and aspirations in the commercial real estate industry, this will give the person you're speaking with a way to frame their recommendations, and you'll get more targeted, individualized advice by just spending a minute or two up front to give a quick background on your situation. And from here, once you've set the stage for the conversation, now is the time to shift your focus to listening and learning, and also being intentional with the limited time that you have. And with that, my second recommendation on this list to get the most out of an informational interview is to decide specifically upfront what you want to learn from this person before the conversation even begins. If you took the time to reach out and schedule a meeting or phone call with someone, there was probably a reason why this person was on your radar, and there was most likely something specific that you felt like you could gain from having this conversation. And if you only have 15 to 30 minutes to get all your questions in, you need to be selective about which questions you choose to ask, since you might not get a chance to cover everything and you may not get another shot at a second meeting from here. And to be selective, you really need to do your homework before the meeting even starts by reviewing this person's background on LinkedIn or the company's website, and then coming up with a list of specific questions that can help guide the conversation, ideally in the order of priority that you'd like these questions answered. So for example, if you're meeting with the head of acquisitions at a company that you would like to work for in the future, you might want to prepare questions like, What kinds of characteristics and skill sets do you see in your most successful analysts? What does your firm look for when hiring new talent? And what are the biggest challenges that your company is facing today? And if your goal with this conversation is to get clarity on whether you should pursue a path in acquisitions or brokerage, you might want to ask questions like, what led you into acquisitions in the first place? What has surprised you about this career path? And what types of personality traits do you see in the people who succeed in this part of the business? Asking targeted questions can help you get clarity on where you want to head next in the industry and the things you'll need to do to take the next steps in your career. And these types of questions can even give you an inside look into some of the regrets or aspirations of someone who has gone before you and someone who has accomplished many of the things that you might be setting out to do right now. Now from here, my third recommendation on this list is designed to turn this meeting into really a long-term connection and to make sure you're showing yourself as someone who is worth keeping in touch with. And this is to make the conversation a two-way street by asking the question towards the end of the meeting, is there anything that I can do to help you? Now, if you're in college or just getting started in your career and you're talking to an industry veteran, you might feel like this is a stupid or obvious question, but you'd be surprised at the value you may be able to bring even without decades of experience under your belt. People you talk with may want to connect with your university, they may want your insight into what young professionals are looking for in a work environment today, or they may just ask you to do the same thing for someone else when you become successful in the future. And even if the answer to this is just a flat out no, just by asking this question, you turn this conversation from a one-way street into a two-way relationship, and you also open the door going forward if there does come a time where you can repay the favor. In general, people do not like to be exercised, and especially when someone takes the time out of their day to help you among all the other responsibilities they inevitably have going on in their life. By treating your connection with respect and showing a genuine willingness to contribute to the relationship, you'll be much more likely to leave this person with a positive experience of your interaction and much more of a willingness to stay in touch in the future. Now, finally, before you wrap up the conversation, my last recommendation on this list, make sure that this meeting or phone call can lead to additional opportunities to continue growing your network. And this is to end the conversation with the question, based on what we've talked about today, is there anyone else in your network that you think I'd benefit from speaking with? This is a huge networking hack, and if you make a good impression during the conversation, asking this question can often give you access to people that, without an introduction, would have never responded to your email, answered your message, or picked up your phone call. A big percentage of my own earliest real estate industry connections can be traced back to just 2 or 3 relationships that I built with people who were extremely successful and well connected in the industry, because these people took the time and reputational risk to introduce me to people in their network, and the process continued from there. I honestly don't know of any other method that can build your network more quickly than this, and if you can add this question at the end of your informational interviews, even if most people you meet with say no, this can open up a world of possibilities for you in your career when someone finally says yes, and the process can snowball from there. So if you're just starting the process of trying to build your network and want to understand how to navigate an informational interview to get the most out of these conversations, I hope this was helpful in making this process a little bit less overwhelming. And if you want to dive deeper into the networking process, or you want to make sure you have the technical skill sets you'll need to land a job at the business, as always, make sure to check out our all-in-one membership training platform, Breaking a CRE Academy. A membership to the Academy will give you instant access to over 120 hours of video training on real estate financial modeling and analysis. You'll get access to hundreds of practice Excel interview exam questions, sample acquisition case studies, and you'll also get access to the Breaking a CRE Analyst Certification exam, which cover topics like real estate pro forma and development modeling, commercial real estate lease modeling, equity waterfall modeling, and many other real estate financial analysis concepts that will help you prove to employers that you have what it takes to tackle the responsibilities of an analyst or associate at a top real estate firm. And if you like this video and want to see more content on this channel on networking techniques and relationship building, make sure to hit the like button to let me know, and let me know in the comments any questions you make sure to ask during informational interviews and why you think those questions are so helpful. As always, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you found this helpful. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to see more videos like this every single week, and I'll see you in the next video.